Hello everyone, welcome to the Advancement Centre and welcome to the world of magic and miracles, where once again we explore anything at all that will raise us above the things that cause us concern in our life, without focusing on anything at all. It's easy to allow yourself to elevate as we speak to some place that we can't describe. Our best thing that we've come up with so far is to be above the elevated platform of living and above the world of magic and miracles. That sounds illogical, but as soon as we speak it, you can feel the energies rise in your body and around you to such an extent that everything becomes simple and easy to work with because there's nothing in front of you. We often find ourselves deep in the practice of everyday life, and it's our honour to relate to everyone in their elevated state and in their state of being in everyday life. We've been very, very careful to isolate many of the things that disturb us. But right now, we're back to where we came from, with a friendly fly and a noisy airplane, just to bring us back to Earth. The greatest thing is, though, the energies are still there, and they're probably more elevated because of the disturbance. Nobody knows what's going to happen next, or how we're going to maintain ourselves in situations where a fly keeps flying in your ear. So, once again, we find ourselves lighthearted and absorbed in many different things at once. Nothing serious except the fly, and nothing is going to get in our road except everything that wants to. So we're back to having a normal life, even though we're elevated. And in that elevated state, we handle everything perfectly. The carriage of our life is much bigger. And as we state things, they come into reality almost immediately, because you're not handling anything. You're simply watching, observing, being involved, and enjoying the randomness of everything. It's often easy to get serious and think that life is going to follow a specific path, a spiritual path, an elevated path, but in fact it's got nothing to do with that. Everything exists at the same time in every field, everywhere. But in an elevated sense of your majestic being, you are actually interacting with the light-hearted part of your whole being. And in that interaction, all sorts of things can happen, and all it does is make it better. Our habit of being disturbed has changed almost 180 degrees to where disturbance is a great thing. It allows us to restart, to go in different directions, to feel better, and it allows us to enjoy our own presence and our enormous abilities that never come to life unless we're disturbed in some way or another. I don't mean disturbed by the brain. I mean literally disturbed in your motion or your way forward or backward, doesn't matter. The world is starting to interact with us in a much kinder way than it has in the past. And we don't have an explanation for that. But we knew it was coming. Any explanation is too small for how big it is. And so we're now past all crossroads. And we have this enormous expanse in front of us that keeps changing. And the sparkles that appear in our life are sometimes magic and sometimes explosive. But they're still magic. And they perform all sorts of duties that are above and beyond what we can imagine or what we can understand. So as we mix ourselves into this conglomeration of unknown and known, we're having a lot of fun. We amuse ourselves at times because we're so offbeat, or we come up with something that even to our own logical mind is rather strange. But it works. And every step along the way is a positive step for our future and for the future of everyone else. If we can see ourselves in the right light, so will everyone else. And the right light is really, really shining at the moment. In everybody's eyes, there's a sparkle. There's a projection of more than hope. It's a projection of knowing, a projection of feeling that it's your life and you're doing a good job. And it won't be long before nobody even compares anything, because they'll all be too interested in one another and how unique each one of us is. How the essence of every one of us is mixing beautifully with the patterns for the future. I often wonder if I'll run out of words, because there's so much that you can't say. But now I'm starting to feel that the transmission is more important than the words. And what we're transmitting today is a major strength that will empower everyone to feel good, to stay on top of the wave, to jump on top of the trampoline instead of under it, to take that fraction of a second before you respond to anything, so that the automatic signals can operate before your brain does, so that you find yourself going in the right direction and moving in the right direction and saying the right thing because you held back your reaction. We talk about emotions because we don't know what the trillions of inputs are that we call emotions. But if you wait that fraction of a second so that you're not living in reaction, you'll find out what the emotions are. You'll find out what every signal is. You'll find out that you know all about the trillions of signals that come in and out of your being every minute. And the fact you are fully aware of who's around you, what's happening, what you're attracting into your life is something that you should be aware of. because it's always happening in the background. But as we go along, that won't be the background anymore. That will be the foreground. Everything you feel and you know will fill your life as it is now, so that you can walk a different way, talk a different way, maintain your being without actually interfering. Allow your majestic self to support the nourishment that your body needs. And know that the magic and the miracles can appear within you or within anybody else. But most of all, if they don't appear within you, you won't be able to transmit it to someone else. And that is our purpose here, to be able to transmit well-being to everyone and everything. So if you don't allow your being to experience the special gifts that come from your origin, you won't be able to pass them on. So even if you are in healing mode, you are healed first, in a fraction of a second. And that's why you feel better if you actually make a difference to someone else. The more we interact, the more we'll understand that our fields enhance one another. Not our words, not our actions, but the field that we generate. That field is unique to each person, and it's very, very new to each person in this lifetime. It's so new that the brain sometimes says, I don't know what you're talking about. And what we're attempting to do right now is to interlace what the brain accepts as acceptable and what it shades out because of its comparison with what is expected and not expected. That sounds like a mouthful. But we're at a point where the unexplainable, the impossible, and many other things that come out of nowhere have to be explainable to some part of our being. And the best thing is to look at all the things that you recognize and you don't know how that happens. Look at how you recognize a person you've never seen before. How there's instant love when two people see one another. How you pick someone out of a crowd and you get a sudden rush of well-being and you never see them again. If you can see that all those things, and there are many, show a recognition for something that is so positive and so certain that it can't be denied. And once you pick these things out in your life and in other people's lives, you'll see that that's what's attracting you to everything. It attracts you to a story, to a book, to a movie, to a phenomenal event, because it picks a part of your world where you recognize something that you call out of the ordinary or phenomenal. So now, if we bring that out and place it in front of our logical mind, it can see two different things. It can see, oh, well, that's a movie. It doesn't really occur. Or it can see in a reality, wow, that occurred. I don't know how it happened. I probably will never be able to explain that to anyone. As we mix these things around a little, you'll see that there's a glitch in the form of understanding, because we're short some information. And that information comes from you, from the part of you that you don't access very often. It's like making a decision on something that you don't have enough information about. So what we're working on is allowing your being to be settled with the information that it has without covering it over. So the information that your body responds to, that your mind responds to, that's in the form of recognition, comes from nowhere. But it's more powerful than if you did anything logically. When we welcome the fly back again, it's one of those things where you wonder where it comes from and why it wants to go inside your ears or in your eyes. But it's a fact, and you have one little thing to get used to, and that's that it's a fact. There's no research and there's no logical reason, but there is a way of explaining, and that's what flies do. The simplicity of the explanation is what I'm pointing to. That's what we do. We enhance one another. We project. We make everything work perfectly, and we don't have to do anything about it. There's a little area in our brain that says, if I can't prove it, it's not real. So let's take that part and put it in front of us and start to talk to it and say, well, I can list 20,000 things that I can't explain. And logically, you're telling me it's not real? But in fact, it is. And the fact that I know somebody is about to make a phone call to me, not provable, unless I can speak up quickly before the phone rings. But every time you have a sense of who's ringing and what it's about. And here's our aeroplane again. We're on the flight path today. The wind must be in the right direction. As we move further into explaining to ourselves that we are bigger and better than what we've told ourselves in the past, we can actually switch on all the dimensions around us. You can make sure, if you want to, all the noise goes away. You can encapsulate anything you want. And you can live in connection with the people you want. There's no need to actually ask how or why. Every part of the world is in motion to follow something that is attracting it. Every person is in motion to follow something that's attracting them or exciting something in them. I just got to fix this fly. I've got all the right stuff. So now, as we play with our abilities, it's time to convince yourself that you can explain everything about yourself. You can explain that you can call on the angels, that you can speak to the spaceships. You can speak to the beings that you feel in the room or across the other side of the universe. What we used to call channel is no longer a channel. It's open. The millions and millions of little channels that come into your being are now all one, in a random mixture of flows that never touches one another. It's like you have 20 trillion TV channels and they don't interfere with one another. And we're way ahead of that technology. Each one of us personally can actually change or disturb those frequencies if we want to. And sometimes it happens with people. And they wonder what's going on because things don't work properly. Many times you have to settle your being down before you can use your computer. I know I've closed computers down and telephones down many times. And I've become reasonably careful. But I don't have to do that anymore because it's automatic. Everything fits and does not disturb one thing unless it's out of line. So start to explain to yourself that you can talk to anybody. You can say, if you want to feel better, just sit by me for a while, because I know I'm transmitting everything that's good for me and for everybody else. And it's not catching, it's enhancing. Explain that what you love about life is what helps other people love things about their life. It doesn't make them love your life. Explain to yourself that each time I advance by an amazing amount that I've never advanced to before. It's not little increments, it's massive increments. Each time I speak openly about the fact that I feel good, you feel it multiply. Each time you look in the mirror and say, wow, you're amazing, you walk away thinking, wow, that really came back at me 1,000-fold. And each time you look at a person and feel the empathy of recognition, their whole being explodes into something that they cannot describe to you, but you can see. And it's not just the smile, it's everything around everyone. But the satisfaction of knowing that you know is what we're all about right now. Be game enough to say, I feel great. and you look great. And together, we're changing the world. And don't be embarrassed by the fact that you can't explain that in logical terms, because you've gone past logic. You've gone to where you know who you are, and you know who everybody else is. And you know together you'll make a massive difference to everything. But it's not the together you're used to. It's the combination of your fields that are there no matter where you are in the universe. And the fact that you've broadened your bandwidth to encompass all things tells you that you have a lot to explore, a lot to play with, and a lot of fantastic new things to entertain you along the way. The more you broaden that bandwidth, the more entertainment you have. The more capability you have to bring into this world the feelings of other generations, the feelings of other worlds, and the essence of that reality that you can actually touch, even though you can't see. So the field that's generated as a result of us all talking can be felt. It is physical, and it exists in this world, and it's growing very, very fast. And this is what nourishes everyone and everything, including the trees, the birds, your brother, your sister, your friend, and the dwelling you live in. It becomes alive to the extent that it almost talks to you. And in fact, it will if you are aware that everything is alive. So now we enter the space where we can talk freely to one another, not about possibilities, not about problems, about reality in its true form, because we understand. And there was no logical progression to get there, because we've always understood, but never been able to say to ourselves that logical glitch is exactly what it is. You don't have to get rid of it. It will heal itself, because you took very little notice of it for a while. It just sinks into the background. So once again, we move forward and we fill this world with our essence. And we don't hold back, because that essence is needed. That is what builds everything. It's called the essence of life itself. And it's provided by each one of you in an amazing display of energetic flow without any effort at all. And it's your secret that you're going to make clear to everyone. Because nobody can display anything about you except you. So we're all looking to one another for the major entertainment of the future, for the display not of our physical talents, but of our mystical and magical talents. And the miracle of who we are. All I can do is urge you to open up a little further and watch what comes, because it will come by itself, and it will flood everyone and everything with perfection and beauty and honor for many, many thousands of years to come. 1 second of your time will produce that effect. So imagine what every second can produce. So thank you all. Once again, I wish you a perfect life, perfect health, and an abnormally magic future. Thank you.